Hello guys, welcome back to another layout update. That train that you just saw running at the beginning of this video was the last train to go in or out of the yard and is the last train to actually run on the layout. Some of you may be shocked to find out that there's no more trains running on this layout, but it's a bad thing in one way, and it's a great thing in another way, which I'll get to in just a minute here. So as you've probably guessed, nothing new has been accomplished on the layout, and I have not bought any new rolling stock or engines or scenery or whatever. Nothing's new on the layout, just been working on boxing everything up. So after much debate, I've come to the conclusion that I will be restarting my layout. Some of you may remember or recall a while back, I was talking about expanding to the other side of the room. And that would have been great, but that expansion actually called for a lot of this end of the layout here to be ripped up, as well as the mountains in around this area, because there would be new tracks that came down through the town. And the way that this layout has gone, with me taking up track and relaying it, or taking up scenery and putting new scenery in, nothing has ever gone back to the position or the way I took it out. And it just ends up causing a lot of chaos because the track doesn't sit level or whatever. Now don't get me wrong, I've had a lot of fun with this layout. It's been a great learning curve, but now that I know what I'm doing, and with radiuses and switches and everything else, I think it's time for me to move on from this layout. Because actually, believe it or not, my layout does not run that great. Some of the videos you've seen of trains running on the layout, those are the best attempts out of like 5 videos. My tracks aren't straight, and they aren't level either, and it's been kind of chaotic trying to keep the trains running. Another reason for redoing my layout or restarting my layout is the depth. The depth of the layout is 8 feet, and it gets really annoying when my trains are derailing along the backdrop up the grade, and I have to crawl underneath the table and pop up into the center and grab those cars. I'm 6'4" now, and the height of the table is actually it's under 3 feet. So for me to crawl underneath that table, it gets quite annoying sometimes, and it's quite hard on the knees with this plywood. So that is another factor for wanting to restart. And the biggest overall factor for me wanting to restart my layout is the space I have to work with. This layout is not a very efficient use of the space I have. With a linear walk around style layout, two levels or double level, I can make a much better use of my space. My yard can get bigger, I can have more industries, and things will make more sense. I have a lumber, grain, steel coil, and some warehouses around the layout. But that's only one point. There's nowhere to deliver it. It's just their cars parked in those little dead end sidings or storage tracks or whatever. And there really is, the track plan doesn't make sense. So with the linear walk around style layout, I'll be able to have 2 intermodal yards where there's delivery point and unload point, or vice versa. There'll be an area where there's coal loaded and coal unloaded, potash loaded, potash unloaded, that sort of thing, as well as multiple industries like smaller grain silos and lumber mills and whatnot located around the layout. So it gives more opportunity for a little road switcher to go out on the main and switch out those few cars or whatever. Now, something I've figured out over time and going into Fremo module is less is more. And this layout in particular does not follow by those rules at all. To fill this town area completely with structures will take forever, and it will look kind of crowded and out of place because it's just a little 6x6 town. And it really won't make sense because it doesn't go anywhere. And having a walk around style layout will now give me a chance to just do little patches of towns, like the track runs through the center of town or whatever, and it'll make a little more sense as it's just a little chunk or a little part of the city or wherever the tracks are going through. And scenery is also another thing. To cover this entire layout with trees and bushes and that is also too much. It'll look too busy, and I think I have 3 boxes of that super trees completely used up in this layout, and even that's not enough, and that's roughly 200 trees per box. They say you can get 300 to 400, but most of the stuff ends up being a little bit smaller shrubs. So that's almost 600 trees already on the layout, and that's not including the ones that I made from twine or Christmas tree branches. So something I actually figured out about my layout is my layout has only actually been running off of 2 feeders. One of them it doesn't work half the time. I've tried it and it's a little bit wonky. So 3 power sources throughout the layout has ran the layout, but by no means enough. And that's probably part of the problem that I've been having with running my trains, of them starting and stopping because there isn't enough voltage running through the tracks. And I did think about dropping feeders every so many feet, but with 80% of my layout ballasted, I'd be crazy to drill holes beside the tracks to drop wires because it would just crumble the ballast, which I would end up having to redo. So I figured for all the work that I would have to do in order to get this layout running properly, I'm better off to completely restart. So the layout will be deconstructed in stages. I'll be starting with the trees after I get the last couple of cars and engines boxed up. And then after that, I will start on taking down the wiring underneath the layout, which will then allow me to take the structures with lights in them off the layout. And after that is done, I'll clean up any other little shrubs and whatever else I can salvage. Then I'll start by getting rid of the ballast, crushing it up again. After that is complete, I will be taking the track out. I plan to salvage as much track as possible, and switches obviously because they're the most expensive part. And after that, I won't actually, in this new layout, I won't be using any fixed radiuses. It'll all be flex track. There might be fixed radius in some of the industries, but for mainline, it's going to be all flex track. And that's because they don't have a fixed radius of 28 and 30 inch curves. And then after the track is gone, the bench work will come up and totally taken down, and the room will be completely cleared out except for my workbench and obviously the lumber. and the layout will be reconstructed because the new benchwork height is 42 inches, which is 3.5 feet, and that's where the bottom level sits, and then the top level will be 5 feet or maybe a couple inches higher than that. But after that is complete, the benchwork for the layout is 100% complete, then I will be putting track down, which probably won't get to until mid-December or later. So I better get going on this. So I'm planning on doing a bit of a video series on the takedown of this layout, and I think it'll be called What Not to Do on a Model Railroad. I figure as soon as I start taking down some of the mountains and that, I'm going to find quite a few mistakes that I made, and I wouldn't want you guys to make any mistakes in building your railroad. So I'll do a bit of a video series on that. Be kind of funny to see some of the Mickey Mouse sort of things I've done on this layout. And yeah. So guys, that's all for this layout update. I know some of you are probably still kind of shocked, but I will be, once I get a track plan sort of figured out or half finalized, I'll show you guys, and I'll fill you in on everything else. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment for me. All right. Thanks, guys. See you later.